Right, hello everybody. So, I can't remember what episode this is off the top of my head, but I know we're 20 something, I believe it's 24 or 25. So, I will just go through a quick overview of what we're doing today. It'll be a bit more of a, say, relaxed day today, compared to other days, but essentially, because there's a bunch of expense stuff that needs doing for some of our other epics on our board. I've spent a lot of time working on the roadmap, which you guys should know because I did it on stream, just so that I could prioritise some of the development features that we're going to be working on over the coming months. So one decision that we made last time was to organise this in such a way that we're working on props only until however long, the end of this month I believe. Then we'll be working on prefabs, then we'll be working on the AI controller, then the character controller. So what I'm doing now is I'm just going to be rushing to race through all of the most important features of these three things. So there are a couple of remaining voxel things that I want to get sorted, but the voxel system is technically usable, which is why the epic here is complete. Again, the prop system is technically usable, but there are some additional things that I want to add to it. And the prefab system is something that shouldn't take me too long to build, given what I've already learned about building the voxel and the prop system. And it's essentially just reusing existing code to create a new file system that can store dynamic information as opposed to static. So that's all fine. What I will be doing today, rather than go through all of the boring kind of business stuff with you on stream, I'll do that afterwards. I will be working on placement rotations. So this is one feature that we wanted in the visual editor to make it look a bit more, make props look a bit more appealing, and that's the option of being able to rotate them around and stuff like that, just so that should you want to, you can adjust the way things look. Say you've got lots of trees in a scene, you can rotate them around to make them look a bit different from different angles and that kind of thing. So that is what we will be doing. I have set a deadline of this for tomorrow. So that's why I'm working on it now. You can see that I've actually got quite a few deadlines for today, and something else for tomorrow as well. Annoyingly, I was working on a blog post last night for hours, like literally hours, and the hosting provider that we use, Wix, decided that it wasn't going to save any of it, despite the fact that I manually saved it and it auto-saves and everything. So I am quite annoyed about that, and it's set me quite behind on my personal schedule for today. So while I will try and get this done all for the end of the week, there may be some things that overlap into next week. But I'm hoping to get it all done as soon as possible. I'm going to work really hard over the next, well, today and tomorrow, to try and get all of the jobs done that I have complete, basically. So rotations is one of those features. I've been waiting for the editor to load, and for some reason it isn't. I was hoping it was going to do it in the background, but apparently not. So I'm just going to reply to a couple of messages. I'm just talking with Josh at the moment, just organising what jobs he needs to do for today, just to help me out, kind of getting back up to speed, basically. So we'll wait for this editor to load. If it doesn't work, I might have to kill the process. Doesn't seem to be doing anything. Let's try restarting that. Right, so the editor's actually finally loading. This is taking its time. Don't know why the launch is taking so long. Come on, Unreal, hurry up. Let's go. Ready to do stuff. Right, so what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to make a list of things that I need to do immediately today, just so that you guys kind of know what I'm up to at the moment. So I need to sort out some uploads because I'm actually a couple of days behind for various reasons because my workload has increased, so I need to play catch up on that. So there's video uploads. I've also got the blog post to rewrite because it died. Now the reason I wanted to get the blog post actually published yesterday is because today I wanted to do the update post. They're supposed to release on Friday, but I wanted to get it done and kind of out of the way and then update it tomorrow if there was any additional things that came up. Also need to do the... just double check the board quickly. So update the live stream package, that was supposed to happen by tomorrow as well. Jira rules, content schedule, blog guidelines. So as you can see, like, I've got a lot that I need to do over the next 48 hours, and getting the blog done was kind of like the last thing that I needed to do before moving on to all of this stuff, which is why I'm kind of so annoyed about it. But that being said, I'm just going to have to swallow my frustration and kind of just deal with it, and hope for the best. So I need to do the expense report for this month so that I can secure financing for our upcoming Insomnia trip. And that is it. Well, I say that is it as if it's a small thing. It's a massive list of things that I now need to do in the space of 2 days, which is probably unrealistic, but we'll see. This has just decided to open everything at once. Let's compile that. If it'll work. I don't know why Unreal's being kind of weird at the moment. Kind of slow, which is strange. Might have to restart, potentially restart the stream, so that I can restart my machine and stuff. last time this happened, it was for some reason because yeah, this is all locked up. Let's restart it for the last time. Let's end. Oh my god, there's so many tasks. Yeah, let's close all of these down. Hopefully it doesn't break the project. If it does, I'll be slightly annoyed, but no, what we're gonna do. Right, so is there anything I can do while waiting for this? So I guess I could do the Jira rules stuff, make a start on that. So I don't have the access to what's called Confluence, but instead I'm going to use this container. Okay. So I need to do a tag breakdown. I need to do priority ones. I need to do Kanban process. So management guidelines. To assignee. Linking. I don't think there's anything else. Maybe, I don't know, I think epics are fairly self-explanatory in this, so I don't think Josh should have any issue with that. Not sure. Let's click on version of the editor. Hopefully this is not being weird now. Yeah, that seems to be working fine. So the editor's finally working. Let's wait for this to compile. Continue with this while I wait for that. I don't know if I can add things like indentation or bullet points even. Yeah, bullet list. Yeah. So I think I'll order it from most important to least important, or try to at least. Some of them don't quite follow that format exactly, but that's what I'll aim to do. Maybe polish should be higher up actually. I think our goals overall are to create a well-polished experience, not a overwhelmingly feature-rich one. Put that there. So the editor has loaded up. We'll come back to that in a second. Not going to make the mistake of not saving that after what happened to the Wix post. Although bear in mind I did actually save it, it just for some reason didn't work. I should have copied and pasted, well, copied everything on the off chance. But obviously I didn't know that before. But I will know that going forward. So let's get up the... We'll be doing a lot of the work in... I don't know why prop controller isn't showing up here. I'll just open this, it should open all of them and then I can access it from there. Let's bring that across. No, it didn't. Okay, let's open up the editor again. Nothing seems to be going right today. Where is it? Why has it just decided to disappear? We're going to have to open all of them manually, which is annoying. Normally it all shows up here, I'm not sure why it isn't. I think, let me just double check, but I think these are the ones, not that one, editor, camera, controller, and this one I think are the ones I can delete. Yeah. See if it'll allow me to delete these two. Oh, it did. Okay. I don't know what's happened to the prop controller or where that's located. Well, this isn't very helpful. Just a massive file full of other files. It should be in here. Why it isn't is beyond me. I'll have to see if I can peek it through somewhere else. It should be in the editor camera.h. It's an old version of the project. I think I must have opened the wrong thing. Let's retry this again, I guess. I need to find out where it was actually saved. I can't fully remember. It's not in the desktop though. I know that much. Not much is going well today. Let's try this one. Let's see what's in the source for this. Yeah, here we go. Oh yeah, this is better. This is actually what I want. Great, okay, this is what I wanted. Recompile that. It's a bit annoying I have to do this again. Nothing's going very well today, but we'll work through it. It's part of software development, especially when you're trying to start your own business as well. Stuff doesn't always go right, and I guess today is just one of those days. Let's bring this across again, do some quick work on this. So first of all, I'll just outline all of the different things that we are doing. Not polish. So I guess while I'm waiting, I'll just do the two simpler ones. I'm also going to add an additional tag in here actually, just before I go back onto the UE4. So I've just realised we will need one for testing. So whenever someone comes in and plays the game and they say, I think the project needs this, they're not technically a community member, they're also technically not a developer, so we'll have a tester flag as well. So I'll add that actually, let's add another label. There we go. Annoying that they're not next to each other, but I think it will sort itself out. I think it arranges it alphabetically. Yeah, by the looks of it, it does. Okay, so there's them two done. Let's put that back. Go over there. There we go. Save that again. So in an ideal world, in terms of rotations for objects, we would be able to have them in any rotation, but due to the fact that we have to use physical volume in the collision system, I don't know if that's possible. It might be, but we might have to do some messing around with that, so we'll see. I'm just thinking in terms of get prop origin, obviously this will need updating to have a rotation value, which we'll take in. Same with get prop collision, that will need to take in a rotation value as well, which will mean a further rework on both of these functions, but it shouldn't be as large as the one that we did yesterday, because the logic might be a bit awkward to deal with. But I need to make a design decision as to how we're going to handle rotation so that it doesn't break everything else in the engine and it can be easy to edit and work with. Now I think we get enough freedom just by being able to rotate stuff 90 degrees at a time. And I guess it works in the immediate future, but I don't know if long term it's kind of something that would need to be implemented further. Get paint up again. Because what we might be able to do is, let's say we've got, I mean it's a bit of a wonky grid, but let's say we've got a grid. Yeah. Yeah, let's say we've got something like this. We've got a prop with an origin here and a box of this. I might be able to get it so that if it's rotated, say 45 degrees, it obviously does something like that and still occupies the same space. Well, technically it'd be rotated around the origin, so it'd be more like that, but then of course you get awkward edge cases where, let's say we had, let's undo that, let's say we had a box like this for instance, and then we rotate it around that point. Like, obviously it's easy for me to visually see where it probably should occupy, but how does the engine decide that? I don't think it would be as simple as just translating it diagonally, because this place is still technically clipped. I have to test it with a number of objects first. I don't really have like a massive backlog of objects to test it with. I'm trying to think if there's any software I could use to edit it maybe, or to mess around. Let's try a different shape. Let's try triangle or something. In this case, I'd have the two bottom two. That translate to this, and then one at the top, so it would translate to there. I guess it would kind of work. It's risky though, it could break a lot of stuff. If I do it this system where I translate it diagonally, then it could mess with a lot. Let's try it on a bigger shape and see if the logic kind of still applies. Let's try the pivot point here. I'm worried that the further away it gets, the less accurate this becomes, which it will massively, but our objects aren't huge, so whether or not it'll be an actual concern, I'm not sure. We'll have something like kind of awkward to do, but wait, that ain't it at all. This looks horrendous, but let's restart that. Like, hopefully you can kind of get my point. I don't think it works. It might do, but chances are it won't. I only had some kind of shape tool to use. Because if we rotated these around the pivot and offset them diagonally, I would be worried about the kind of distortion that we'd get, and that it wouldn't line up very neatly with the collision in the memory that set up for that. So I'm thinking we just stick to 90 degrees. I guess it can be expanded upon in the future if we decide to. So yeah, I'll do that for now. I'll stick to 90-degree rotations, and hopefully that should be enough. So let's update these. So we have 3 functions to update. And we also have, oh, in fact we have another one as well, because we've got to update this, which is another undertaking in and of itself. Ooh. Again, this also needs to have rotation added to it. So in actual fact, it's quite a lot. I might be able to have a generic function which takes in, I think we've got arrays for these or something. It takes in an array and then transforms it potentially. That might be the best way to do it, but then I've got to change the internal implementation of these. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing. Let me have a look, and I think I'll probably go down that route. I also need to have a rotation in here as well. There we go. So yeah, I need to update all of these function definitions. So that is one of them, that is one of them, this is another. then obviously I need to update anywhere where these functions are called. So what I'm going to do is in the editor, I'm going to have, well, I'll need to update that separately in a second anyway, but yeah, let's just go through here for now. We need to update saving and loading to have an additional field, which is rotation. So we start off doing a get line, so let's do that. So that should be okay for there. Let's put this in here. Right. There we go. We'll need to do the same for saving as well. So can't forget to do that or it will just break entirely. Yeah. I won't actually be able to save our existing scene because it uses the old format, I think, or at least I won't be able to load it in, so I'll have to make a new test scene to populate that save file, but that's fine. It's just an excuse to test the editor some more, I suppose, with the new rotations as well, so I can test it out as I go and then if it'll load in. I think that's all I need to put in there. Solves that problem. Oh, we've got all of these as well. Is that all I need to do? Get prop collision. Yep, that's fine. So just passing in the rotation at that point. Again, rotation in here. Should probably just copy this at this point. Make it a lot easier. Is that going to update? I'll presume it's just not caught up yet. That should be fine. Sorry, just 1 second, just having a look at a message quick. Just communicating with Josh so that we're kind of organised on what jobs we're both doing today. Right, okay. So again, with this function, is prop placement occupied? It's the same deal, really. So one thing I definitely will need to test is if this breaks at all. But that means having... Well, I'll have to have some kind of way of testing the rotation system, so I'll need a shape that doesn't have a uniform shape to it. Don't like this song very much. There we go. Problem is with this radio station, the slides are like cheesy things with lyrics in, but it's all like not great. It's okay. Instrumentals are better on here though, if they're free. I will need a way to get the rotation, so I'll just copy this. There we go. In fact, I'll save that as an external variable. And I don't have to call it multiple times. So I can get rid of this and replace it with rotation. Copy that. So I'm basically just updating all of my function calls to have this one variable. Might take some time, but we'll get there. Oops, don't want to duplicate. There we go. And then there's one last thing apparently that's broken down here. Replace prop. So with this, I don't know if to keep the same rotation as the existing prop. Probably. Although, to be fair, I am keeping all of the same properties. I guess I can just update it afterwards if I really would want to change the rotation separately. So I'll just do this. I know I am doing it this way rather than just get the XYZ. Maybe I'm not saving the XYZ in the spawning thing. Let's just double check. Could be. Yeah, that's weird. I will update that. Because that isn't that efficient. I think I must have written this function a long time ago and just not updated it since. In fact, you know what, this whole thing's probably going to need an overhaul at some point. I'm tempted to just comment it out for now. So we've got all of these things which I haven't passed in. Then again, it's not that much of a difference. But yeah, let me put that in instead. Okay. Do I need any other data? there we go, and then we'll just put rotation in there. Easy enough. Wait, no, have I done it the wrong way? Oh no, sorry, I'm looking at the wrong thing. Yeah, that's fine. That's all updated now. So now I actually need to update the code itself. So I've done all of the function calls and definitions. I wish there was an easier way to do that. There probably is, and I'm just an idiot, but you know, it's done now. So we now need to update all of the functions that we've just included changes to. What I think I'm going to do is put everything in arrays and then make a function that takes an array and transforms it and returns it back to the point of call. And then I can use one rotation function, one transform function for everything, and keep that updated in one place rather than having to update it in multiple places, and maintain that as well. So I'll make a new function called, that'll be an int array. I think I can return int arrays, right? Don't really see an issue with that. Should be fine. Call it. Then again, C++ can be weird sometimes, what it allows and what it doesn't. What would the variable be? It's max object, yeah, max object width, depth, etc. I think I can do this, but again, I'm not entirely certain. I might have to return like a one-dimensional array with pointers to other array spaces or something weird, because sometimes I think you have to do that. But I can't remember if this is one of those instances where I'd have to. Get rotated. So I just want get rotated collisions. Get rotated prop collision to be specific. It needs to take in the prop ID and the rotation, obviously. Yeah, so I don't think I can actually return three-dimensional arrays, so let's do some research on that. I just use an int pointer, I think, in theory. So I guess I use a reference instead then. Hang on, so array can potentially be used let's see if there's an array template available. It'd be really weird if there was, but there might be. Okay, there actually is an array template, I think. Really weird. Get rid of that. Okay. Thanks for the follow, man. It means a lot. Very close to our follower goal, actually. We've got 2 days to go, so hopefully we can hit it either today or tomorrow. But yeah, your follow goes a long way, so I appreciate it. Thank you, man. And what's interesting as well is you've not even seen the project we're working on, I don't think, so I can show you that at some point when the code isn't all broken. Actually, it should in theory work because I'm not really adding much at the moment to it. I've only changed the way the functions are called. Cheers, man. Max object width. I don't know if I can do multi-dimensional arrays, so let's see if that's possible. C++11 multi-dimensional arrays. What's it called? Template. Oh, so I could, I guess, embed an array in an... Yeah, that's dumb, but I guess it works. Let's embed let's embed some more arrays inside of here. This is really stupid. This is what C++ programming kind of devolves into at a certain point, because for some reason certain syntax isn't supported, which is frustrating. So, again, this would be like... that, I suppose. So let's put that in there. Let's get rid of that. This is really stupid. Also nice to see not everyone is doing C#. Yeah, C++ is certainly an interesting language, as I've just found an interesting example of. But yeah, thanks for supporting me, man. It means a lot. So we want width to be the first thing that you access, then depth, then height. Is that right? No, I think this is the wrong way around. I need width to be the topmost thing, so that should be height. Oops, need caps. That should be height, and this should be width. So this apparently, I think, is how you return a 3-dimensional integer array in C++, which is really stupid, given that I could just use standard array syntax, but apparently not. Okay, well, with that sorted, I suppose. What do I do? So I don't need to do anything else, I don't think, in terms of inserting one. Oh no, I do need to pass it in. So I need to do this exact thing, but as an argument. I don't know if I can pass in a multi-dimensional array, possibly. I'm also just going to look up quickly that this is actually doing what I think it is. Just double check, just in case. Combines the performance and accessibility of a C-style array with benefits of a standard container, such as knowing its own size, supporting assignment, random access iterators, etc. Oh, this is quite cool actually. I didn't even know this thing existed until now. So rather than using standard C-style arrays, I can use this standard template library array, which is interesting. Certainly, it's not something I would have thought to even look for, because I would have thought that the standard C-style array is the be-all and end-all of arrays, given that it's the default. But apparently, there's this as well. But I just want to see what extra functions this has as well. Actually, so the size, which was something that I haven't had access to till now. Not that I've really needed it, so I've been using fixed definitions, but the size. This fill, that's useful, because I've just been using weird brackets up to this point. That's actually very useful for initialization. Didn't know that was a thing. Get, I suppose, is useful, although you could just use square bracket operator, I think. Creates an array object. Just 1 second, guys. Give me a moment. Be back in a second. Hello again. Right, let's get rid of the toilet break warning. There we go. Zoom that back out. Right, so I'm still kind of curious as to what this array thing does, because obviously it's an alternative to normal arrays, but never something I've seen before. So container operations are supported. I don't know why you'd need them. Again, it's like, you know where the start is, because it should be 0, unless you're actually looking for a pointer to it, in which case that kind of makes sense. I guess you can put it straight into an output stream. Again, I guess that's kind of useful, but you could do that anyway with a for loop. So I guess it's just building upon the base functionality marginally so that it's slightly more powerful, but again, like, does it really have much value to it? The one thing I would be interested in, and this is the only time I think I genuinely use this other than for return types, is if it can be dynamically sized at runtime. And I don't mean edit its size once it's been made, I mean be able to say that I want it to be this size based on a variable, create it, and leave it like that, but at runtime, rather than having to define it beforehand, because the problem that I have with doing that at the moment is I can't make world sizes dynamic because I have to make them a fixed size. So unless I have a bunch of fixed functions which take in various variables that do exactly the same thing but just on different sizes of it, I can't have dynamic world sizes currently, unless I use like dynamic containers, but then it slows the whole thing down. Because I don't want to use a chunk-based system, because everything needs to be loaded in at any given time for the ecosystem to work. So I'm going to, I think, investigate this further. Let's have a look. So we've got array template C++, size at runtime. There we go. So potentially, I think it can be, if I'm understanding this question correctly, then it can be dynamically resized. Let's just see if I can find anything else. We're already at C+20, right? So this is an outdated article, I think. I don't know when it was made. Oh, 2013. Yeah, ditch that. Probably out of date. There we go. That's the interface of a standard vector. So that possibly means I can size it at runtime. This is exactly what I've been looking for this entire time. If it does that, then great. I kind of stumbled upon this by accident, which is really nice. Because this uses... What does this use? Oh, I also got myself a coffee, by the way, to try and wake myself up a little bit. But this index access thing, so I'm not quite sure entirely what this is saying, but I think it means that there might be a way to have built-in array bound security. So I'm not getting runtime exceptions when checking, say, the negative first position. Yeah. Negative first position in an array, or the max size +1, for example, I think, with a check of the array boundaries. So that might just default it to 0. Eventually an std range error exception is thrown, but I think that's safer than just crashing the program, obviously. And at least this error potentially can be caught as well. So I might actually just be able to catch this error and just ignore it, rather than doing whatever it was I was doing before, which is adding safety to every single array bounds check within the voxel and prop storage. So this is really helpful. If I can get this to work and do more research on it, this is extremely helpful. Let's see. I know it's efficient, so I don't need to worry too much about that. For clarification, what's next? I just need to see if it's dynamically assignable at runtime. I need to know. I think it is, because it's a template. So this is quite old, I think. I'll just presume that it works for now, and I will come back to it at a later date. But basically, I've found something that's quite interesting. That's nice. I again need to pass this in as a parameter. I don't know if I need to pass in the whole thing, actually. I might just be able to get away with passing in a non-specified array template. It might need parameters though. Regardless, it doesn't matter. So let's copy that. Let's pass this in as a function parameter. I mean, it looks quite nasty, but kind of gets the job done, I suppose. Let's create this. Yeah. So we'll be passing in an array. Hopefully it passes it by value and not by reference. I would hope so. Not that it should matter too much, because I'm not actually using it after the pass into this function, so that should be fine. But maybe I should assign its values to a temporary array instead. Let's do that, just to be on the safe side. I don't need to declare it this way anymore. I can call it the traditional way. I do need to give this a name though. I'll call this original prop collisions, so that's what it is. I'll also copy this name into that for incomplete type is allowed. Oh, you're incomplete, or is it because I added this in? Presume that just broke it. Maybe not. Maybe I can just do a traditional declaration in there. Maybe that'll work. Let's try that. We'll grab the definition from, where would it be? I guess I don't actually have one yet, so let's make that now. Let's get rid of all this. I'm just going to wrap it in these. Sorry that this takes a while. In fact, no, that needs to be the other way around. Temp. Wait, call that rotated prop collisions. Make this equal to whatever the parameter is that we pass in, but we'll obviously pass this in this way instead. And see if this works. There we go. So I think this is accepted. Syntax in C++. For some reason it doesn't allow it on the return type, which is frustrating. But it means I can replace this here. And then that should fix the error I was having there a second ago. So that's still not allowing it. Complete returns incomplete type. Yeah, that's fine. I'll just return that. Hopefully it does the conversion automatically. I would think so. I'm hoping that it does the conversion between an array inside of an array inside of an array and whatever this is. No. Maybe I need to convert it into this type? Possibly. Let's do that. Let's convert it into that type. Say that this is equal to original prop collisions. Is that not allowed? No. Have I not written this properly? I believe I have. I'm not given a name. Of course. There we go. Is that not allowed either? Incomplete type allowed. It isn't incomplete, right? I mean, this should be fine, right? Don't see why not. That's how you declare them normally. Maybe it would allow it if it was just one dimension? Let's give that a go, I suppose. Let's get rid of first. There we go. What am I not doing? I'm just declaring a templated array, right? Oh, kind of weird. Let's do more research into this. Let's get a new window up as well. C++ template array. Here we go. Don't think this is the thing. No, that's not what I'm looking for at all. There we go, I think. Maybe I initialize it with brackets. What I can think. Oh, now it's no longer showing errors. Maybe the thing just hadn't updated properly. Presume that's what was happening. Okay, that seems fine. Why is this not caught up yet? Doing the same thing. Yeah. I've just realised I need to swap these two round. Height and width. Just because they're assigned different ways round to the way it would be templated, because I've had to embed them in the templated implementation. Again, this is throwing errors. This shouldn't be, but it is. Oh. As soon as I click off of it, it's like, no, this is fine, and then it breaks again. Let me just double check that I've got these parameters the right way around. It's great that it highlights what I'm doing. There we go. Yeah, so I have passed it in the right order. Literally nothing has changed. Okay, back to research, I suppose. There's a lot of stuff. Do I have to include it that way? I feel like this is an outdated way of doing it. Yeah, 2013. Let's look up, I need to find the... I need to find just like the docs page for it. CPP reference will probably do. Just need to see how stuff's initialized, that's all. They initialize it with brackets. I guess I could do the same, but also they initialize it using an equals. So, as far as I'm concerned, that should work as well. I guess the issue is that these are being recognized as templates and the other thing isn't. Maybe I'm missing some syntax somewhere. Inner bracket, middle bracket, outer bracket, no, that's all fine. For some reason here it's showing up as green and here it's showing up as blue. Maybe I've copied something wrong. And now it's showing up properly. The code complete really does not like this like nested templated thing that I've done. Maybe it just isn't displaying properly. Let's go find it quick. Here we go. I'm just trying to see where it doesn't match. So I wish I could move the cursor around to show you what I'm looking at, but I need to hover over it. So it looks like the templated array elements all look the same to me. as part of that initialization, so that looks fine. I think the issue that it has is with the thing that I'm passing in, the parameter sizes being different, which is weird because I think I've just updated those. Oh, apparently I didn't. Okay. Fair enough if I didn't do that. There we go, let's add that back in. So now it shouldn't have any issue with it, but no doubt it still will. Update, please. Just save this file quickly. Yeah, this isn't updated yet. Update, please. Okay. What's it saying now? Returns incomplete type. Well, it isn't incomplete. It's declared in exactly the same way. Maybe it needs to be equal to something and the assignment wasn't correct. Put a bunch of, I don't know, let's just initialize it with brackets or something. You happy now? Anyone in chat has any suggestions? I'm all ears. Features a much more of a pain in the ass than I thought it would be, and it's for the reasons I did not think it would be a pain in the ass. C++ is the reason it's a pain in the ass, because I need to get the syntax right. I just need to check a message quickly from Josh regarding work. Right. Yeah, try random things. That's probably what I'm going to end up doing, to be honest. My main debugging advice. Yeah, try random things. It's kind of weird because the definitions should be lining up, but they're not. And there's no reason why they aren't either. I could just try returning an empty array and see if it likes me doing that. Is that something I can do? Incomplete type is not, it's not incomplete. Stop it. It's very complete. The original implementation is complete anyway, doing that. It's a variable with a name. Can I do a dot? No. Let's try making it equal to a bracketed version, maybe, for some strange reason. Set, maybe it has a set function. Maybe if I do that and then do rotated prop collisions dot. Why can't I do dot? There's loads of stuff to do with. Okay, maybe it doesn't like embedded stuff. Let's do std array multi-dimensional. There we go. So multi-dimensional arrays are possible. I just need to make sure I'm using the standard keyword, but I think I should be because it's in the settings file to use standard. Yeah, using namespace std, so that isn't the problem. This should work. It isn't. Maybe I need to include it as part of the... Maybe it's not recognized by default, so let me include that. Let's go into here and do an include. To be fair, that could be very much the reason why it isn't working, but I would have assumed it's one of the base. If this doesn't. I wouldn't be surprised actually if this fixed the entire thing, to be honest. I forgot about doing it that way. I think I might have fixed it. It's always really something stupid, like I always overlook fundamental things because I'm so focused on what I'm actually doing at any given time. I don't think this will work though. No, let's try... I don't know if I can initialize it this way. Possibly. It might take an argument maybe. Let's try initializing it as... Surely there's... Rotated prop collisions dot size swap. There must be like a set thing that takes in a standard array argument, surely. Just bear with me 1 second. I'm pretty sure I saw it at some point when I was looking at stuff. So let's do std array equal to array. I guess that'll be in the CPP reference. I must be able to set it as from a traditional array, I would have thought. Play std array. Yeah, make std is not something you want to type into Google. Make std array equal to array C++. Okay, so if I can get this one thing to work, then I can actually work on the thing I'm supposed to be. That's not what I want at all. If it has it in the introduction to standard array, possibly. I just need to see whether there's an assignment to a traditional array somewhere, please. Would be nice. Maybe a cast of some type. Cast array to std array C++. There we go. Maybe it's copy. Yeah, I think this is what I'm after. This is exactly what I need right here, so let's copy that shit. Okay, so no, I guess I don't want to do that. I want to do it down here, so I want to do, just put that down there quickly. I guess I could use equal assignment standard copy, I think. Copy is a default keyword, I think, right? So, and then I basically just want the rest of this, but to replace the variable name with, so get rid of the std keywords. Put that in there. Is that not allowed? I guess I can't do multi-dimensional arrays either. This makes it so much more complicated. Not only am I doing something that I shouldn't be doing in the first place, which is return a multi-dimensional array, but also I've got to use other implementations to copy the damn thing. Right, let's open up the documentation I had open again, see if I've missed anything. Oh. No multi-dimensional arrays in because of C++ or UE4, don't much about either. Because of C++, it's not that the support isn't there, there are ways to do it, it's just the syntax for doing it isn't very nice or very intuitive, and it doesn't... There's not a very good standard in C++ for handling arrays, I don't think, personally, because of the way that they're implemented, that there should be some syntax overlaid on the standard that should allow some of the things that you want to do a bit more easily. But there isn't for some reason. I don't know if there is in later implementations of C++, but it hasn't worked as I would have expected so far. So, see. I know for a fact that that should be that. Annoying that I can't use begin on a multi-dimensional array, I don't think anyway. Let me double check that reference again, see if there's any way to... No end declared anywhere, I don't think, unless it's include algorithm, which I'll be honest, I've never seen before and I don't know if it would actually fix the problem. Let's try putting that in, just on the off chance that it does work. I've been wrong before, so. You gonna work now, please? Oh, it flashed, but it didn't fix it, so I got my hopes up for a second there. That's not it either. So, what do I do? I guess I just continue reading articles, and if something stands out, then great. I want to know what n is in this. Oh, n is the number, I see. Maybe Stack Overflow will know. Yeah, you'd hope so, but this is kind of a, I wouldn't say a niche question, but in terms of C++'s history, the standard array is actually something that's relatively new. And I say new, but I mean it's like probably 8 years old at this point, but that's new in terms of C++ stuff, so it's like no one teaches it or uses it for some reason because it's old C++, which is ridiculous because it's added to the standard. It's just a lot of developers I don't think can use more modern C++ for a number of reasons, like whether they're using outdated hardware or they've got an outdated legacy system that they have to interface with. They can't really use updated standards, and therefore it's not taught to newer developers at universities and stuff because it's not core C++, even though it now technically is. And also it's just lack of knowledge about stuff like this, which holds a lot of stuff back. Like, there's a lot of good things in later C++ standards that just aren't invention because people don't really know about them. Like, I had no idea this array container was a thing until today. And I've been studying games programming for 2 years and working as a freelancer on it for half a year, so you'd think I'd know it by now, but apparently not. So I don't want to use a reinterpret cast. As it says, it's not a guaranteed behavior, and with a multi-dimensional array there's even less guarantees that it'll work. Could cause crashes. So let's not do that. Oh really? What did you think to the post? Oh, that's good. Glad you liked it. Funnily enough, I was working on, I was talking about this earlier. I was writing a blog post last night and the day before that was a really kind of good summary of the project up to this point, because I know a few people have been asking about it. And it covered our entire project roadmap, which I built on the stream. And Wix, the site builder that we're using, I saved it multiple times. I went to publish it, publish wouldn't work. So I refreshed the page and it deleted the entire blog. So I lost all of that work. And I think it would have been a really interesting read to people that follow the stream, and I'm really pissed off about it because I have to rewrite the entire thing or just not publish it at all. But I do want to publish it, so I'm going to have to rewrite it again. I was hoping it'd be ready for today, but it isn't. So keep an eye out for that if you've liked that one. Hopefully that'll be of interest. Yeah, I guess it will take less time, but the thing is I kind of knew what I wanted to write about in the first place, so it didn't even take me that long, relatively speaking. Like, for the amount I wrote anyway, it was so many paragraphs. It was like 20 paragraphs or something stupid. Yeah, and I think with the whole revision thing, it's like I'll be able to write it better hopefully the second time round, and it was quite an important blog post, so I guess in a way it's a good thing that I have to rewrite it, but at the same time it's a massive waste of my time. And as I went through earlier, I've got to try and do all of this by Friday evening, which is a nightmare. This was the biggest thing I had to do, and now I have to redo it. So that's not great. And also I've got a birthday party to attend this evening, so I don't exactly have all of this evening to do it either. And I've got to spend time with my girlfriend as well, so I can't just I can't just spend all of my time doing this, because I need to eat, obviously. Yeah, very busy, as is working as a freelancer if you've got a lot to do. So if you have a look at, I'll bring up the thingy board. What I was running through in the blog post was covering all of the different sections on the roadmap, which we've obviously laid out. I've taken people through it, but I've not fully explained what every section means. Some of them are kind of self-explanatory, but I wanted to paint a picture of how it all fits together and why it is we're doing it the way that we are, and what the dependencies mean as well, and why it is we've estimated things a certain way. And it was quite a long read, but it was like worthwhile, I think, and it was really important for the project that this article was finished, but it never did in the end. Write it somewhere else first and paste it into Wix. Yeah, I think I'm going to start doing that moving forward, because I don't trust it anymore, to be quite honest. Like, it only takes one fuck up like that to destroy your entire trust in a piece of software, and it's part of the reason why we're going to be moving off Wix as soon as possible. Like, as soon as I've got time in my schedule to do the admin, to transfer all the blog posts over to a new hosting service and get that all sorted, I will be, because I hate Wix at the moment. I'm like just fed up with it. It doesn't even look that nice, to be honest. It looks okay, but only because I put in the effort to make it look nice. You know, the standard template for that wasn't exactly great. I'll try and find a copy for multi-dimensional arrays. std array copy multi-dimensional array, there we go. What the hell? How is it they've done it? They've used the ncopy thing, which takes different parameters, I think. To be fair, I might not need to do the begin thing. I could just pass it in as a parameter, and just give it the length by the looks of it. And favint is the new destination, so let's try that. So let's pass in just this as it is. Guessing it won't like that. There was a separate thing where I just pass in a number here, right? So let's try. It'll be these three times each other, so let's grab those. Pass that in here. Do where is it? That times that, and then get rid of that. Is that not okay? I don't know why the syntax is like this, where he's got 0, 0. If this one makes more sense. This is what I tried to use before. Oh, so I could flatten the array maybe. This is ridiculous. I should not have to go through this much effort just to passing. This is what frustrates me. The C++ standard has had multi-dimensional arrays in it for years, and for some reason you cannot do basic things like copy them one to another. It's like, I think part of the problem is with C++ is there's so much bureaucracy surrounding the standard. It has to go through that many processes of approval, and there's that many people involved with it that things that seem to make sense just don't get implemented because too many developers are trying to do too many different things. From what I understand of the politics of it anyway, but I'm not sure. I don't want to have to edit the underlying implementation of the library. I'm not messing around doing that. I guess I can do the reinterpret cast if I have to. Don't really want to, but screw it, why not? Why not? I've got nothing to lose at this point. Let's do a reinterpret cast. I can't remember the syntax exactly for it, but I think it's just reinterpret cast and then the thing that I'm trying to do. So that. In little brackets. And then that is it, right? Reinterpret cast array, yeah, the thing that you want to do, and then in brackets the array that you're trying to convert. Original propositions. Is this not a thing? Surely it is. Please, please work. Oh, this is a nightmare. Maybe it works with just. Out of curiosity, it might work with a single thing. Why is that not allowing it? I know it works. I've just seen somebody do it. It's really stupid. Maybe I do need the std keyword just to specify what it is I'm actually working on. I don't think I can reintroduce the std keyword, but maybe. Why the fuck is it not allowed? Just allow it. It doesn't even allow the single dimensional one, which makes me think that my maybe I've got an outdated standard and they're using an up-to-date one. Oh, it's a good job I've got coffee today. Because this would drive me loopy, I think, if I didn't have one. Okay. So they're using an array. Granted, it is a single-dimensional array, but as I've just seen, that doesn't work anyway if I try and reinterpret cast a single-dimensional array. So. Oh, one thing they have is a reference symbol in there, so maybe that's what I need. I can't see why that would fix it. Apparently it does. I don't trust it, but okay, let's presume that works. I did miss that part. They also have one here as well. Or why they want to have that as a... Can't remember the exact definition of a reference. I believe that means it can't be changed or something. Let me have a look. Oops, not what I wanted. Another name for an already existing variable. Well, I don't think I need it to be a reference anyways, and it's not throwing any errors at this point, so I'm going to presume this is working. It doesn't say that it is, but I'm going to presume that it does, because there's no syntax errors. So let's hope for the best. I will compile this, see if it dies. I don't need this anymore, let's not save that. This is the make or break part. Either this all works or it doesn't at all. Let's close all of this stuff down. I can always re-find it again if I need it. I'll go back to, while we're waiting for that to compile, I'm sure it won't take very long, but I'll just open this up again. I'm going to continue editing the Jira board rules, so I'll explain... Oh, this is done actually. Oh, what doesn't it like? Oh, it's because I've not updated all the function calls in the editor camera as well. This will show me loads of syntax errors now, I think. It should do at least. There we go. So I've not updated these properly just yet. So highlight prop needs to have int rotation in there, which means getting the prop rotation. Not too difficult to do, I just have to do that and then rotation. There we go. Let's see what else it wants. Again, this is as simple as doing that line of code that I've just done, but what I'll do is I'll assign that to a variable so that it's easier to use. I should probably do this more often, to be honest, because I don't think I've done this kind of code everywhere where I've just replaced it with new variable assignments, which is more efficient because I'm not having to indirectly access objects all the time. I think it's more efficient anyway. It might not be in C++. I know that in C# getting indirect references can be expensive in certain cases, but I think that might just be with get functions. So I'm not really sure. I'd have to do more research on the performance cost of that. If there even is a performance cost of indirect variable accesses, there might not be. Spawn prop. So I'm going to need a new variable in here called prop rotation. It's also going to be a blueprint accessible one as well, so I'll just copy that. Int prop rotation equals, and then I'll just equal it to 0 initially. And this will just be equal to prop rotation. If it'll update. I've spelt that right, haven't I? Prop rotation. Yep. I think that's correct. Anyway, what I'm going to do quickly is I'm just going to take a quick toilet break and then I'll be back in literally a minute. The toilet that I go to is right next to my room, so be right back. Okay, there we go, I'm back. Right, so let's just quickly work out why this isn't working properly. Oh, this is whether or not overlap mode is... Did I just delete that? Shouldn't have done. I might have accidentally, yeah, I think I just deleted that last variable by accident. Rotation in there, that's all fine. Okay, just put it in the wrong place. So out of curiosity, Thinkulum, when is it that you watch this? Is it while you're at work, or what is it you're up to at the moment? So I've noticed everyone seems to come on around the same time, and I'm not quite sure what the correlation is there. I presume it's like after lunch or something. Right, should be fine. Let's try recompiling that. I'm in the US, it's 9 AM here. Okay, so what time do you start work, if you don't mind me asking? $8 AM, fair enough. And I presume that means I must start at 7. So it might actually be worthwhile me starting the stream later, around that time when people start work. So maybe 1 o'clock for me is a good time to begin. What's this have issues with now? What's it saying exactly? Sorry, that's not what I need. This one. Local variable x used. Oh. That was the change I made earlier. That should fix the problem. Compile that. So would you prefer it then, Thinkulum, if I started, say, an hour later? Would that make more sense for you, or do you kind of like coming in when I'm in the flow of things already rather than doing all the introductory stuff? Okay, something broke. It's always great. What broke it this time? The include vector broke it. So what I'm doing is fine. Fair enough. To be fair, the beginning is normally just me having a look through the Jira board anyway and trying to work out what it is I'm doing, so... Why is it having issues with this? It said line 400... Yeah, fair enough, I thought as much. Last time I did this seriously, I had a couple of people that watched long term. They kind of watched it while they were at work as well. Which makes sense, I suppose. It just gives you something to listen to, which is nice. Just going to go through my code flow quickly for this particular update that I've made and just see if there's anything that should break it. I don't think I've actually called get rotated prop collision anywhere, so that shouldn't be the issue. Maybe I've not updated the function definition somewhere or put the wrong variable in. Yeah, I get what you mean with the motivating thing. Like, I used to listen to I used to listen to like a lot of talks and stuff, like programming talks while I was working. That used to be really helpful. This is a really horrible function definition. I've never written something as ugly as this before. I don't even know if it works. I can try commenting this out and see if it... Oops, not deleting the whole thing, obviously. See if it causes any issues then. And then I know that I've broken something else for my function calls or whatever. I don't know how, but we'll find out, I suppose. And also comment out this line here. There we go. Recompile that. Open the window. Is it possible to do unit testing? I've not really done much unit testing before, to be honest, so I don't really know much about it anyway. You can do breakpoints, I know that much. So if I wanted to, I could debug it that way, but at the scale that this project's at, it actually... It's sometimes not worth it. It is if I'm really stuck on something, but because of the fact that I'm using so many arrays, it's a real issue to like... it's a real issue to kind of work out what's going on within arrays, because you have to read the entire array, and when you're dealing with thousands and thousands of blocks, it can become quite difficult to debug. So I actually generally avoid using the debugger, which is kind of counter to what you should be doing, but don't really have much choice most of the time. So I kind of just have to follow my code through logically and debug it at every step, make sure I'm not breaking anything. So that's weird. So just having the definition in here crashes it. Maybe it was just a one-off, hoping that for some reason it just wasn't working. Let's try that again. I would have to do more research into unit testing though. I know it's a common software kind of design tool to use unit testing, but it's not something I've kind of had to do yet or come across in much detail. So, but I'm sure I'll look into it at some point. It can only help like expand my skill set, right? So, okay, so that worked that time. I'm not entirely sure if it actually compiled everything properly, so I will run the compile one more time just in case. As I've explained before, UE4 doesn't always do it properly, so let's try that. Yeah, especially if you do test-driven development. Fair enough. It's probably something that we'll need at some point anyway, because this software that we're using is just one scene at the moment, but it will become multiple scenes, and it'll be hard to test across multiple scenes if we have to go through menus all the time. So it changed the way I think about my code. Fair enough. Design by contract. I'm guessing the design by contract principle is like you have specified set of inputs, a specified set of outputs, and you test, like I'm guessing the way unit testing works is you test the boundaries and the default ranges within that input range and see if it gives you the correct outputs or if it like doesn't accept certain inputs and stuff like that. That's what I would think it is, just intuitively, but obviously I have no idea. Let's just double check the prop system if it actually works. Yeah, all I've added is an extra function. More or less the idea. Originally I wanted to do something that's equivalent to unit testing on an old project that I was working on for uni, but the project never actually went anywhere. Where what we wanted to do was we wanted to wrap all of our code in switch statements and then allow multiple people to submit functions for those switch statements and have them called depending on whose mode was active at any given time. And we would do that to almost have like a competitive performance thing. So like we'd have a contract basically, you must accept these inputs, you must give us these outputs, and obviously do your error checking within that. And then we would be able to toggle different people's code on or off and see who's is faster and that kind of thing. But it never went anywhere, unfortunately. I was really excited about the idea, but people weren't really that committed to it, and I seemed to be the only one that did any work for it. So I'm channeling all of that energy that I had before into this kind of solo development thing. Obviously I've got the designer that I work with, Josh, but I do all of the programming work. But because I'm the only one working on it, I don't really have to do unit testing, because I just test it as of when I make a feature. And I kind of think like that anyway. Sometimes I overlook things, but I don't know. If I deemed it useful in terms of speed of development, I'd probably do it, but at this stage that we're at right now, I'm not sure if it is worth it. At least not for me, because I'd have to learn the process in and out. The users are the testers, yeah. Just chuck it at people that hopefully buy the game and see if it works. It broke my computer. Yeah, I hope it doesn't break anyone's machine, that's for sure. It could do, but it shouldn't do. Okay, so this reinterp cast thing probably is working, I hope. Let's actually call it somewhere and see if it does. So I guess the first point of call that it makes sense to add it to is I guess is prop placement occupied? I suppose. Oh no, it'd be get prop collision, wouldn't it? Yeah, so get prop collision would be where we want to call it. So we actually use arrays already, which is helpful. So what we would do is transform it using our new function that we've made, which is called get rotated prop collision. So we'd do that. Let me see if I can get code complete on that. Get rotated prop collision. There we go. So we're passing in an array right at the end, but we want to first pass in all of these other parameters that we've got. So x, y, z. Oh wait, no, I think we only need prop ID in there. I'm not sure what other things it takes. The rotation value, I suppose. And then the array itself. Ball is incompatible with type int, so yeah, I just need to change that over to Boolean. I forgot about that. It's not a big deal. Just change all of the references of it. And then update this to bool as well. And now it's broken the reinterpret cast. Great. Why is it not wanting to do it now? Error type. Is it just not caught up? I just don't think it's caught up yet. There we go. Are you going to catch up as well? I've changed both, right? I think so. Go back into here. Argument type bool is incompatible with... Oh, we just want to pass... yeah. Do I have any other arguments to pass in? Nope. Oh, I guess I need to cast it back to a... Oh no, I don't. I just need to get the index. Which is X, Y, Z. Was it at? And then it's at again. Y, and then at a final time. This is kind of not great, but does that work? I think it does. It's kind of a really stupid string of functions, but you know who needs nice syntax when you have C++ standard template library? They really haven't thought about standardizing syntax across various things, and it's kind of annoying, especially when beginning in C++. Like, it should be more intuitive than it is. Whenever I run into like having to learn new bits of C++, I'm always like, why does this not work how you would expect it to in terms of syntax? Because half of it just doesn't make any sense. It's like the people that are developing the C++ standard don't actually use it, or stick to like base C conventions. Or at least are trying to overwrite old conventions, but they're not actually updating old like standards or anything like that. They're trying to run both in parallel. So you end up with two design implementations simultaneously. And yeah, they're still living in the 80s. Yeah, most of the C++ standards are like pretty much from that time, so. Okay, let's see if this breaks everything. In theory, it doesn't actually do anything to the rotation just yet, but it will do at some point. So, compile failed. What now? Turn cannot convert bool. Oh, I haven't updated the integer definition on that one part, I don't think. Where was I? Probably down, if anything. Yeah, I didn't update this. Yeah, bool. There we go. Did I update it in here as well? No. Alright, that should work now. I was kind of hoping, to be honest, like with all my gripes with C++ and its outdated standard and everything, I was really hoping that I'd be able to use a different language. So one that I wanted to use is called Jai, I think, and it's something made by what's his name? I think his name's Jonathan Blow. I think I might be wrong. This obviously hasn't worked, whatever I've done here, but anyway, he's made a new language specifically for games development, but unfortunately it's not picked up by any major game engine developers, and I'm not writing a game engine from scratch. So like some of the core stuff, sure, but not the whole thing. This has scrambled my... What the hell has this done? This has like really scrambled my collision array for some reason. Let's have a look why. Oh, I might have flipped it round by accident. Let's try reading it from... Where am I? Let's go back up to here and let's swap these reads around. I presume that's the issue. I think it's reading it in the wrong order. Let's try that. But yeah, it's a shame I can't use Jai because I would have really liked to. I think a game engine is being developed in Jai, but it's kind of an engine, or rather it's a language that's in its infancy and it's not really got any widespread adoption because it's so new. I mean, it's not backed by a major tech company, so whatever I've done just crashed it. Yeah, so that was the right way around apparently. But yeah, it's such a new language that there's not really any support for it. I wish there was, because it seems like it's built upon good principles, and obviously Jonathan, he knows what he's on about. He's a games industry veteran, so he's designing the language based on what he would want as a developer, basically. One thing that's nice about it as well is the compile times are like instant, from what I've seen. Right, so I need to figure out why it's scrambling these. I presume it's just I'm assigning something wrong or converting it wrong within this. So maybe it's the reinterpret cast or something to that effect that's broken it. I'm going to play the game one more time. Oh, did it crash? Yeah, it crashed it, didn't I? I'm going to play it one more time, see if there's anything I can learn from the way it's behaving, and see what I can maybe do about it. Maybe it's just something's in the wrong place. So we're passing in original proposite collisions, and we're not actually doing anything to it, so I presume it's the cast that's affecting it in some way. Probably not a defined cast really, it's probably something that's not fully supported, so I'm not surprised that there are oddities in the way that this is working, to be honest. I kind of expected it not to work fully first time round, but I'm glad it's doing something at least. The fact that it's compiling is a good start. I'm just going to mute my mic quickly while I try and get my housemate to turn his music down again. He always seems to turn it up at the same time, even though I've told him multiple times that I'm live streaming at this time. I'll just message him, and if he doesn't see it, I'll go downstairs. It just kind of activates my microphone, which is kind of annoying. I don't know if you can hear it now that I'm talking over it. Maybe you can hear it in the background a little bit. But sometimes when like his bass kicks in a bit, I can see the microphone activating. Oh well, it's not too big of a deal. Unless it gets any louder, I've messaged him anyway. Hopefully he sees it. But anyway, so let's see if we can work out what's going on here. So it seems like the first two Yeah, it seems to have done it in the wrong direction, like it's converted it incorrectly. I think it's done it backwards. Because it's like tall by how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 maybe. And this has got collisions in that position, that position, that position. And same on the lower level, and it's got, I think, yeah, it's got, by the looks of it, it's got 7, 8, 9, oh, this is, yeah, this is flattened it out in a really weird way. It's like scrambled it for some reason. So there's a stack here, but not on the bottom two, which is really weird. And then there's a stack here, but on the top 3. And then here on the top 1. So it goes 1, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. 1, 3, 5. Huh. Let's see if I can find anything in the pattern of the where I've actually assigned it collision volume. So I'm assigning 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces, so that really makes sense as to why it's got 1, 3, and 5. That's what, 9 spaces that it seems to occupy. So it's 3 additional spaces that it's added for some reason. Maybe reinterpret cast just isn't the way to go. It should be the right way around, I think. I think it would throw many compiler errors if I wasn't doing it correctly, in terms of the way round that I'm putting my width and my height. Because it did crash last time when I changed it, so... I suppose there's no harm in trying changing it. So this is fine, width, depth and height, that I have no issue with so far. If I maybe try reinterpret cast with it the other way around, so max object width, height in there. Again, height in there, and then converting this round. And height in there. Let's see if that works, and then I'd obviously have to reverse that call I was doing in, I think it was editor camera. Or was it in prop? No, it would have been in prop controller, sorry. Find where it was I was spawning, sorry, reading from it. Might be that I'm assigning it the wrong way around, because the reinterpret cast might not technically throw any actual errors. So we shall see. It might just, like, if it's not interpreting it properly, it might just scramble it. So... double check I've done everything properly. Oh, I didn't update the definition. in the header file. There we go. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go downstairs and talk to him about turning his music down again. I shouldn't have any of these problems next year because I'm living with a really nice bunch that are actually doing similar stuff to me next year, which is nice. Alright, let's see if this breaks. Okay, so different result this time. It's scrambled in a different way, which is, I guess, a start. It's kind of weird in the way that it's done it this time. Okay. Right, so what I'm going to do is just look up if there's a way to do reinterpret cast with a multi-dimensional array. What am I on here? Okay, I'm going to undo all of that. I mean, I think my initial implementation was valid, so... I think it's just the conversion that isn't working properly. Everything. Oh, this has gone way too far. There we go. That's how it was originally, I think. Oh, he's just seen my message, he's turned it down a bit, there we go. Right, what to do? What to do? I suppose I could do a different implementation entirely, which isn't ideal, but... Right, I have a rough idea of what to do actually. So one thing I'm going to do, because I need to... Because I'm going to need to rotate objects now in different dimensions, I'm only really going to have one maximum object width, because the depth and the width need to technically be the same. Because if I'm rotating them around, they need to fit within the same box. So I'm going to get rid of one of these. And replace every instance of it with just the width component. So I need to wait for this to update. It'll probably throw me an error somewhere. Here we go. Copy that, replace it with that. That. And here. Also in the definition as well, sorry, in here as well, width, there's actually quite a bit that needs to change in these files. Just kind of going to work my way through them. There we go. What's this having a hissy fit with now? Have I not updated the header for that? Yeah, I did. What about here? Have I not fully updated this? Width, width. Height, width, width. I've not updated again. That's width, width, height, and this is height, width, width. This needs to be updated to max object height, and this needs to be width. There we go. That should be the last of them. Let me just double check that, compile it through. What the aim is here is to avoid using multi-dimensional standard arrays like I have tried with this array template, and change the implementation so that I can simply reverse the X position and the Y positions that I'm looking at by changing the index. Just double check this works still. Yeah, I mean it's broken as fuck, but that bit works at least. So let me get... I'm going to delete this. Delete this definition. Actually, it's probably not a good idea to straight up delete them. I'll comment them out from now because I've done a lot of work on getting these to the point that they are. Yeah, just comment that. There we go. Let's go in here and go to where this is called. I want this changing to what it was originally, but I mean I'm doing all that work. This was simply a return of the array that I had at the position, so it was, let me comment this out, and it would be return temp array x y z. That's what it was before. What I'm going to do instead is try and work out for each rotation type what the X and the Y and the Z position would be translated to should I rotate it in any one of those directions. So I'm going to have another switch in here for my rotation code. So it's going to be values 1, 0, 2, 3. So that's break. So 0 is, it doesn't matter, that's just default rotation, so we don't need to handle that. Case 1 would be if it's rotated 90 degrees. So let's think about it, how would it change? I think the y-axis would become the x-axis, and one of them would be reversed. So let's bring up Paint again, Paint's always useful. So let's do a little demo. Do my shitty little drawing as always, that was awful, but oh well, don't need it to look nice. Okay, so let's say we have this, let's say we've got a thing and we're rotating it say we're rotating it to here instead. So this will become 1, this will become 2, and 3, and this will become 4. So what's happening is we're flipping the X and Y axis around. And we're also reversing the y-axis, I think. I don't think we reverse the x-axis, just the y. We need a temp variable, and we need to have int temp x, which will equal the thing that we want it to. So y, what would it be? It'd be something minus y, so it'd be the max width minus y, I think, because that would reverse it. So let's say it was max object width, well, it would be max object width minus 1 as well, so that we're not going outside of the array bounds, I think. Let me just double check that in my head. So let's say this is 3, which I think it is. Yeah. And we had position 0 we wanted to check. We'd start off with 2. That would be right. Yeah, so we'd be in position 2. That's great. And then y would be equal to x, and x would be equal to temp x. What I'm going to do to test this is I'm going to add an extra stack of collision volumes onto our tree. And I'm going to shift them over by 1 position in the x-axis, so I'm going to have them at position 2. And what this should do is allow me to test whether or not it rotates properly, but also that this works as well. So let's test that, let's compile it. I also need to update the origin code as well. So I need to remember to do that. What compile error is there now? Is skipped by case label. Yeah, but it's only used locally, so why does that matter? Ah, that's stupid. Right. That really should not be an issue, but well, let's declare it out there. It's only used locally, then Tempex shouldn't be. Oh well, let's ignore it. Let's just double check that this has been updated. Yep, that goes in the right direction. Let's now update my spawning code to have rotation 1. Let's do that by changing it in the editor camera to make sure that the code follow through works all the way. Rotation equals 1. Okay, let's see if this works. I would expect it to rotate 90. Let's just recompile just in case. No, that's not done anything. I'm going to hook up prop rotation to the control scheme actually. And I will hook it up to... There's already an existing thing in editor camera that I'm going to hook it up to, and that is changing the placement axis. Probably not the best thing to do, but in fact we have this thing called spin voxel. I can't remember what this one, but I can't remember if I've even hooked it up to anything. No, I don't even think it's hooked up to any controls. Spin voxel. Apparently I have something called spin voxel. Maybe I do. Oh, X and Z apparently are spin voxel. Okay, let's hook it up to that, why not? I'll rename it though. Spin selection. Call it current. Spin current selection. Oops. Close that. Update the definition. All the way down. There we go. I think I've updated everything. So basically, if we're not in prop mode, do the regular behavior, that's fine. If we are in thingy mode, want to do prop rotation plus equals direction, and then do the same two if statements that we have below, but capping it between 0 and 3 basically. There we go. So I should have updated it. So I'm also just going to look at this again, make sure that it's even called in the first place, my rotation code. While I'm at it as well, actually, I will I'll do the logic for all of them, I might as well, just so I can see if there is actually any change. So let's work it out for if it's upside down. We would have 3 here. And 4 here. Two down here and 1 here. So I think we're reversing both axes. Yeah, we're flipping that around and we're flipping that around. That kind of makes sense, I suppose. So we basically need to do the same exact thing, but we are also Well, actually, we're not swapping them around this time, so I don't need the temp variable. I can instead do that. And the same for Y. So we're just reversing the direction of both. And then for 3, what would we be doing for 3? 3 is a bit of a weird one. I think it's the inverse of this. Let me just check. Numbers are all over the place now. This again is 3, there's no change there. This would be moving to here. It would be moving up here, and so 1 is the remainder. So just highlight these so I know which ones I'm dealing with quickly. I'm reversing the axes again. I'm inverting the x-axis. Actually, was it the x-axis or the y-axis I was supposed to invert before? Let me double check. The y-axis, wasn't it? That's probably why it wasn't working before. And I think this last one is just a inversion of the I think it's the opposite. I think it's the inversion of the x-axis this time, so we're swapping them around and inverting one, not the other. Let me just double check. So yeah, we're definitely swapping them around. We're swapping the yeah, we're inverting the x-axis this time. Swapping both, I think. So I will copy this one. And we will invert both of them. There we go. So this should be the actual completed rotation code. I've now also hooked this up to the editor, so I'm just going to reply to a message while it's compiling. Okay, let's put that in. I don't think this is actually changing anything. It's not letting me place it there for some reason. Oh, it is working actually, I've only just noticed that. So this is the first one. That's the second. That is doing it for, but that's a bit concerning. Shouldn't be doing it for both. And that is miles off for that one. I don't know what that thinks it's playing at. That shouldn't be there, it should be over here. Okay. Let's try it again. One or the other, I'm not sure. Let's just reset it so we know where we're starting on as a base. Put it on prop surface placement mode just to make things a little bit easier. So the first one, for some reason I'm missing the bottom portion of that, but it's not too important. I'm not sure actually which increment is positive and which one is negative, so let me just double check that quickly. I believe it should be X. Oh, I'll have to check through the editor. So yeah, X is positive, Z is negative. Okay, so yeah, let's test that again, sorry. Close the things down. Prop mode. Already need to place it on the floor, but it just makes it a bit easier. So let's press X. That should be here. It isn't, it's only on this side. So it's inverted that, but it's inverted it the wrong way, I think, from what I can tell. That's fine, we can easily change that. Let's press X again. Yep, that's only over here, that's great. And X one more time. Now I'd expect that to be here. That, by the looks of it, is the only one that's done it correctly. Let me line them up so I know which directions I'm dealing with. That's one. This is two. Or is it? I don't know if I pressed that properly. Try again. Okay, maybe I pressed that twice that time. Not sure. I think that's the final one. I think two separate bits of conflicting code are working at the same time here. Let me restart this one more time. This should be in front. I've just tapped X increment once, but it isn't, it's back here. This might not actually be a very reliable way of testing it, because I think the what do you call it, this thing, I think even if you tap it for a second it can sometimes spin it around, so maybe that's not the best way to test it. What I will do instead is I'll manually spawn in 4 props and check their collision bounds. So within edit camera, find where the spawn prop thing is. There we go. Let's copy that. Go into begin play. Is it begin play? Should be in begin play. I think I set the other stuff for the voxel thing in terrain controller, which I shouldn't be doing. I should be all doing it in one place really. So let's put this in here. I wanted to have this 0, 1, 2 and 3. This should be 0, 0, 0, 0. I mean, it is technically current prop, but whatever. Oh no, actually this is 1, I think. Doesn't matter either way. Okay, so let's oh, didn't spawn them in a proper place, that's my mistake. Let's do, I can't remember what the height is, but let's say line them up. 3, 6, actually I want them a bit further apart than that. Let's do 5, 10, 15 and 20. Voxel Y will be on the same position, let's just say that's 5 for all of these. And let's say the height is 20. I think that's roughly what it is on the editor. Oops, not 209. Right, I'm just going to take a quick toilet break and then I'll be back in a second. Okay, I'm back. Right, so yeah, we've just set up these props to spawn in at reasonable intervals. So let's give this a test. So I can actually test the rotations properly and it's not just me relying on dodgy controls. Okay, what I wanted. So this is the default one. This should have it to the left, right? So that's fine. This one should have it as it's forward and back. Okay. This one has it just back. Good. This one should have it yeah, so let's revisit this one, which is obviously wrong. I mean, somehow, I'm not entirely sure how. I think it should be equal to y actually. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's recompile that. Maybe the increment thing was working before, I just didn't have the right rotations in. I'll test that again in a bit just to make sure that it's how working how I expect it to and it doesn't need fixing. So that's all good. Nice. That is also fine. Also good, and yeah, that seems to be working just fine. So in actual fact, the solution was probably a lot simpler than I was originally going to implement. Right. I'll copy this and see if I can update other portions of the code with it. So get prop origin is one of them. This I'm going to update though, to use this array system. Oh, I got this to work actually, I have no idea. Oh, I see, so int is the part I want to look at, right. This one's relatively simple again, I think. Let's put this in. But instead we're editing the axis, so we don't need temp(x), we just need axis variable. No, we're not changing the axis variable actually. Yeah, we need to rewrite this. I don't really know why I did it this way, it's kind of nasty looking. and we'll put this afterwards as well. So we'll have int, we'll have just an array, so pos, and then it'll be a 3-dimensional array, so, sorry, not 3-dimensional, it'll be a 3-position array, integer array. Is it possible to return single-dimensional arrays with... No, apparently not. That's fine. Just have to be a bit messy, I suppose. And in fact, we don't need to do all this axis shit, we just make it equal to what we want it to be. Look a lot nicer. So, pos equals 1, 1, 0. Right. Is that not how you set them all, surely? I know that's how you initialize them. Oh well, we'll do it a different way. Now this technically is less efficient, I know, but it does the job. Makes the code a lot nicer to read as well, which has some value. Makes it a lot easier to maintain. There we go. It's a nicer implementation. Also means we can change things around a little bit as well. So we can do that rotational switch that we wanted to do. So we'll make a new one. So I think actually we could copy the other one, and we can just replace the variable names with what the positions are that we're using, rather than... how do I explain it? I'll show you in fact. Instead of doing so we're replacing these with positions instead of it is getting to that point in the day where my commentating skills are kind of slowing down a bit, so I'm sorry for that. I will call the live stream, I think, soon, but ideally I want to get this feature working before calling it a day. So what we can do to test this is I can set the origin. I can set the origin of the tree, I guess, to the corner and see if it works. Walking is tiring. Yeah, you'd be surprised at how quickly it does get tiring. Like, if you're not used to it, it's exhausting, but I've kind of developed the ability to talk non-stop from doing this repeatedly, so I suppose if there's one benefit from doing this programming stream, it's that I can now talk non-stop. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but I suppose it's a skill nonetheless. You know, I never actually checked this origin code. I never even checked if it worked properly. It should do. Seems to. That seems to be working. That's rotated in the wrong direction, I think. That no doubt has gone over here. Yeah. Oh, how's it gone? Yeah, that's completely off. Also, the highlighting code isn't working. I need to just work out why quickly. Because I thought it used the same function, but maybe not. Or anything else that takes rotation in. Just get props. Yeah, I believe that's fine. Spawn a new prop again, just passes it through as a parameter, doesn't really do anything. Let me see what it's like in the editor camera. There we go, like prop. Maybe I'm not assigning the rotation actually inside of the spawn code. Spawn a new prop. Yeah, I don't think I'm actually assigning it anyway. So, in fact, let's just paste that in. That should fix it. Now that the object itself actually knows what rotation it has, it can relay that information to the highlighting code. probably help massively actually in trying to work out what's going on. Where is it? So it's rotating them the wrong way around. So I have to imagine this is the centre of the object now. That's wrong. Or is it? Let me work it out. So let's start a new grid. Let's say no. Oh, I'll tell you what would help if I set the origin and the collision boundaries properly. So I will try my best to explain what I mean. So I'm trying to do two competing things at once here. I'm trying to change the collisions and I'm trying to change the collision origin. However, if I set the collisions to be lined up with the collision origin, how they should be, but both of them offset by 1. Then I should be able to sorry, one second. I should be able to I don't even know what I'm trying to explain here. To be honest. Yeah, my brain's fried at this point. I've been doing this for 3.5 hours. I know what I want to communicate, I just can't, in all honesty. I'll show you what I mean. I've basically now put the highlighting box back where it's supposed to be, but the origin is in a different place. But also the collision box is also in a different place, so it should line it back up. Here we go. Yeah, so that's obviously put it in the incorrect... Where the fuck is it gone? Well, this isn't right, let's put it that way. Oh, did I see it for a second there? Yeah, so this has put the origin in completely the wrong place, I think. It's put it in... It's miles off of where it should be. Let's redo the maths on that. Yeah, I think the math should actually be quite different. I shouldn't have copied and pasted that code straight in without thinking about it, because it's probably the inverse, if anything. So We'll go through step by step and we'll work out what way it's supposed to go. So the default is fine. The next one is translating the dot to still 0 on the x-axis, but it's an extreme on the y, so the x doesn't change, but it's reversed on the y-axis. So we can get rid of that, I think. And both positions are flipped, I think. Then I would have thought it's just the y-axis that changes, but I might be wrong. Let's do it with boxes, just so I'm more clear on the view. This one, the x-axis stays 0. It changes to the opposite end. That's fine. And this one, it changes both to the opposite end. And then this one changes just the x-axis to the opposite end. Okay. What I'm going to do is, after this, probably call it a day. Been working on this for quite some time, my brain's a bit mushy right now. See what's happened. So that's behaving normally, that's fine. This is not behaving normally, this is not okay. All the way over here again. This one's working okay. I presume this one suffers from the same issue as the... oh no. That's mysteriously fine. I mean, it is off center, but better than the other thing. Is also in the wrong direction actually as well. Let's use a bigger grid to illustrate this because I'm sure I'm missing something. Let's use a blank I'll select that and delete it. I need to test it really with a shape that's bigger than 2 by 2. I can actually work out the proper logic for it. So I need a 5 by 5 grid to try and illustrate that. Okay, so what I'll do again is I'll go through step by step from my original box, try and work out where the issue is. So let's say my origin here, let's use the paintbrush actually. This is my origin. I have a box that occupies this space. And I translate it around 90 degrees. So my x-axis remains the same. And I'm setting the y-axis to be the maximum it can be. So it's the thing is it the y-axis that's inverted or the x-axis? In fact, I need a slightly bigger box to test this with. Imagine this box is 4 by 4 and the origin point is here instead. So we're spinning that round this central point, like that. This is probably more accurate to be honest. So the x-axis becomes equal to the y-axis, I think. Or does it stay the same? You know what, my brain is too mush to think about this right now. All I know is that this is broken, so what I'm going to do is I'll put a to-do in here. There we go, fix the rotation and offset mismatch. So that's my job for tomorrow pretty much. I'll continue this on the stream tomorrow. At least I've made significant inroads in getting this fixed. It's a shame that my initial implementation didn't work, but at least I've discovered that new array thing. I should be able to use that quite effectively in terms of voxel storage, so that'll be interesting to use. As always, thank you for watching. Thank you Lim as well for joining me as you always do. Nice to have you around. And I will see you tomorrow, all being well. Yeah, see you later. Bye. You too, thank you Lim. Have a good day. See ya.